you do just get straight into, or is it like a 5
Yeah,
hour?
it is. Like, somebody has a chat with you. They give you, you can either kill them or help them.
Too much.
No, they haven't. They haven't. You're being a dickhead.
Hello and welcome to the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, Ewan, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Shannon.
Hello.
Brody.
Hello.
And James.
Hello.
On the show this week, we're going to be discussing your review of Atomfall, James. I'm excited to hear about that one. Some of the God of War rumors that are kicking about as well, and a new game from Devolver Digital. But first, I'm eager to continue the trend of starting the show talking about Silent Hill F, given the news this week. The game was refused classification with a listing on the classifications website, simply stating that it had been refused classification by the IARC global rating tool with no further information provided. But I guess we've had some kind of developments off the back of that initial report as well. Brody, are you kind of best placed to summarize what's gone down here?
Yes and no. I mean, look, well, from my understanding, and it is very rudimentary what the classification board is all about and how it operates, but I assume this IARC rating tool is an automated sort of system that's not necessarily touched by anyone necessarily. And in emailing the board and getting some clarity, it seems as though the listing that we saw was in error and basically wasn't meant to be there. It has since been deleted. It hasn't actually been classified in Australia or refused classification yet. Not that it will necessarily. It might. Who knows? And yeah, obviously they said that the classification decision will come closer to the game's launch. So
we've had that further clarification from a spokesperson at the classification board, right? Yeah. James, I think you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the is a tongue twister, isn't it? The IARC classification system is an international sort of standardized thing where you're just completing a questionnaire and kind of based on your submitted responses, it kind of grades you in reference to other people's classification systems. Is that the gist of it? I
think so, but before the show, you said you were all over it, so I didn't look it up. So maybe, yeah. From I thought you were researching it anyway.
No,
I wasn't. But in the history in the past, whatever. Yeah. I have been following a lot of games that have been like this, right? Like back in the day, Silent Hill Homecoming had the same kind of thing. I think the Medium was the most recent one. I think there's just certain things in this automated process that are an automatic ban in Australia. Yeah. But then once, say, a human-to-human interaction happens, say, someone from Konami versus someone from the classification board, they kind of explain the nuance and it's understood a bit better, and usually then that gets it through. That being said, looking at the ESRB stuff, if you look up the ESRB rating, where they always give a little paragraph on what happens in the game, I don't recommend doing that if you don't want to be spoiled on anything, but it does sound like it's going to get pretty hectic. So without context, it does sound pretty intense. But that being said, I'm sure, I feel like I'm going off topic, but I just think, I think there's a chance that it still could get refused given the subject matter, the fact that you're all technically dealing with school kids. I mean, even though they're late end of graduation school kids, but still,
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it probably is more likely than not to get through because I just feel like the instances of stuff not getting let through with an R rating is one game every 3 years or something crazy these days. But yeah, I definitely think there would have been a reason for this to get flagged originally. And reading the description, as James has suggested, you could easily see why this could be a problem. But I think it's still fine. It's not good in terms of what we want people to be experiencing in our games. But I don't think there's anything that will be mega flagged as refused classification. I think it'll just be an R rating.
I think I'm just quickly looking at a list now. There were some other games that are random and no one cares about, but I think the last one before that would maybe be Wasteland 3, which I think was automatically banned because of drug use, and then they appealed and it was fine. But I think appealing costs a lot of money from memory.
Yeah, I was
which is
going to add
why-
to that as well. I think that like publishers kind of know like what is okay and what isn't, right? Like when you're developing a game, if something's going to be a problem, like you would know by this point like what's probably not going to fly with classification boards, because like obviously most countries have weird things that are different to every other country. None as extreme as us, but like gore and weird historical things. So I feel like it's very rare that you wouldn't at least be aware of something you're putting in a game is going to get banned somewhere in a country like Australia in this day and age.
Yeah.
But I think as well, maybe because this is a very like Japanese production, right? Like I feel like maybe there isn't much consideration for outside in terms of the themes and stuff. And especially
Maybe.
this writer who's doing this, if you look at his like old mangas and stuff, there is a lot of, I don't want to say violence towards children because that sounds bad, but like bad shit happens to the kids in those stories and stuff. So like there's definitely like a precedent.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to get banned. James is going with
Well,
that. Let's roll
No,
with it.
I don't do. Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, it's weird, right? Like I could literally go to Japan, buy it, and play it on a PlayStation there. But then if I were to come back here,
You'd be arrested on the spot.
Like
Lawbreaker.
It's just like it's weird that like it's something as simple
Well,
as
that's just
the
the broader challenges behind regulation, which
I guess
every time we've delved into this kind of topic, we've discussed this plenty of times kind of over the years, but I'm broadly in support of regulation of this kind, and it doesn't always get it right. But I think this is probably just from like the perspective of where things are now, obviously having this clarification from the classification board as well. Like it seems to be, it's just kind of tripped up kind of one of the automated checks and kind of the human review that is now presumably applied to it. Will kind of approach it with a bit more nuance and I think likely overturn it, just kind of reading the tea leaves a little bit. But who's to say? Kind of, I haven't read the description the two of you have. But if it's kind of within the context of the narrative, like the subject matter kind of might be okay. And it kind of depends. Like I think Australian classification tends to be pretty strict on like drug abuse related to incentives, and I think sexual violence is the other. Like those kind of two things tend to trip it up.
and both are here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Related to incentives as well, the drug use?
Well, we don't know
That's
about that
surprising me.
aspect, but we know there's drugs in it.
Yeah.
Which could be a link to Silent Hill 1, which is interesting. But
Yeah.
I think also this is also quite good for the game marketing wise. I feel like it always gets people interested. Like a lot of people are paying attention to the game now that I think probably wouldn't have before. Which
I mean,
is...
it's a weird one because the reason this caught my eye originally when I was about to fly to Sydney and ask Brody if he could write it up was because I just thought it was a story that it was rated at all, because we don't know when it's coming out, and generally if something's rated, like it's done. So that's what I found interesting initially. And then obviously refuse classification. I still think it'll be fine. I think the issue used to be that we didn't have an R rating, right? And like that's why anything that was like above M15 plus or whatever it is, like it was just refused classification. Where I think there's obviously certain circumstances where it falls outside of R18, but I do feel like that does a good job of covering everything else and protecting people. In saying that, like I'm not selling games and I'm not 18, so I don't know how big of an issue it is in 2025 for people playing games that they shouldn't be. It probably is a big issue still.
I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel like every kid plays GTA. And
I feel like if it's banned, like people want to play it even more, right? Like it's going to bring even more attention to it.
And if like your parents don't let you play it, I'm sure people are just putting in a different age on.
I mean, we were all playing GTA at 10, weren't we? Maybe not you, but the rest of us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were MA back then, but yeah, like. But what I'm trying to say, sorry, is like I feel like the digital storefronts aren't really enforced in many ways at all. So like I don't really know.
Yeah.
If it matters in the long run.
Interesting. It's going to bring a spotlight to something that probably wouldn't have been an issue otherwise. So I'm excited to go on that ride.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's a tricky one because I hear what you guys are saying about like it kind of ultimately not being all of that the logistics of it kind of enforcing these regulations are kind of few and far between. But I think it's kind of important that we still kind of apply some sort of standards to it. Like,
I agree, but that's for something like I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think this is as bad as it sounds personally. I think what this stems from is that the classification board treats video games differently to movies, right? If anybody has followed, let's say, Japanese horror films in like the past 20 years, like the guinea pig movies, like they're super violent. Like they are so violent, a lot of them have been mistaken for snuff films and banned in some countries. But like they're here fine with an R18 rating. Like I doubt anything is on that level. I agree, like you, and like obviously I don't want a game that's full of like, I don't know, rape and pedophiles and stuff. Like I don't. That's not, those themes and stuff are not don't have a place really. But I think something like this, where there is a little bit more nuance to it. Yeah.
No, agreed. And yeah, I'm pleased that we've kind of had the clarification from the classification board, and no doubt they'll kind of hand down their kind of proper finding in time once that's issued. And yeah, Shannon, to your point, I guess it is interesting as well. Like maybe this game is kind of nearer than we perhaps assumed it would be, kind of given they seem to be getting through all the checks. Because I guess like that automated one that kind of fired through the first refused classification sort of finding is submitting the world over, right? Or like a major territories the world over at least. So yeah,
and it's up for pre-order as well. So it's all systems go. Or not if it gets banned, but
interested to see what it'll turn out to be. Another game I'm interested to see how it all turns out though is Atomfall. It's one that I've kind of had my eye on more recently. I feel like I've seen lots of positive buzz around the game in the wake of its review coming out. But James, handling the review for our website, you wrote about the game. What did you score it, and how did you arrive at that decision?
I just told Shannon to read it and said, "What's the score?" That's
literally, and then I picked one.
Yeah, no, I had a score in mind, and I would have fought if it was like dramatically different. But we both landed in the same.
Oh, so Shannon, you're playing it as well, were you?
No. He just read my words and just like
editing skills.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much was edited.
It's good to talk.
Anyway, let's talk about the game. So I settled on an 8. I wasn't sure where to go because there was like a bit of a dissonance between like my brain and my heart, because I knew mechanically there were some issues, but like overall it was still quite fun. So yeah, I settled on an 8. I think a lot of people are looking at this, including myself. I think we've said this before. It looks like Fallout, but in North England. But it's actually closer. It's kind of in between. I would say it feels a little bit more involved than Fallout in terms of like story and the choices and stuff that you have to make. But then just under Stalker, like it kind of firmly sits in between there. Right. And it's like an RPG, but it's not. It actually reminded me a lot of BioShock, the way that it tells its story, just in terms of some bad shit's gone down. There's like a lot of audio logs. I saw Brody's like.
I just saw Brody's eyes now.
Like, yeah, no, yeah. It's it's not like, to be clear, like it's not anywhere near as like philosophical as BioShock is or anything like that. So if that's your bag, yeah, he's not interested anymore. He's gone. Nah, but like I just mean in terms of, you know how like you kind of have like free run of Rapture, right? You've got all these different areas you can kind of move between. It's not open world, but it kind of is in a way. Like it's hard to explain. But yeah, it feels like New Vegas, but without having like an RPG system behind it. So there's no like stats to worry about. You pick up a gun, you can use that gun for the rest of the game as long as you can aim, right? Like,
that's my downfall constantly.
Well, that's what I'm like, and that's what I'm saying. That's what a lot of my issues with the game were, but they weren't super big issues for me. As an example, I feel like you can almost get away with too much. Like I would be sent on a quest to go break someone out of prison, but then strike up a deal with that person to not break them out and actually like work with them to do something. And then I would get back, and the person was like, knew that I'd done that because obviously I had to shoot my way out of the prison after that point. And they're like, oh, but I'm sure you had like a good reason. And then they gave me the next quest line for them. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't quite get your quests closed off if you piss off people. You can talk your way out of almost anything if you can. if you're smart enough, I guess. But yeah, it's just all over. Like, I feel like talking about this game, it's all over the place already. But like, it's very good. I really liked it, and there's a lot of different ways to get out of the quarantine zone, depending on which quest lines you follow. And
is that the kind of central premise of the game? Is like escape the quarantine zone? Okay.
Yeah. So sorry, I probably should start with that. So basically, you wake up in a bunker. You don't remember who you are, what you're doing there. You're stuck in this area that was, I think it's the Windfall nuclear. Like it's a real
wind
like,
scale. I think
wind scale.
It's based on that disaster. Yeah.
Yeah, like a real life disaster that happened. But in this world, that whole area got like cordoned off from the rest of the world for 5 years. And like a scientific team moved in to work on certain stuff, and they've kind of like built upon why that happened, why that disaster happened in this story, which is fictional, obviously. So yeah, you've got to basically get out of the quarantine zone, and there's about 6 to 7 different ways that you can by following different quest lines and stuff. And that includes interacting with, say, you've got like a faction that's very similar to the Brotherhood of Steel. You've got a faction who's kind of rejected the technology and kind of gone lived in the woods. They're called themselves the Druids. They're like pagans.
Yeah.
And then you've just got like the outlaws. Like it is very tropey. But like the way that it all comes together is really cool. Like even though it's a lot of stuff I've seen before, I think the breadth of the decision making makes it interesting. Yeah.
This sounds so up my street in like so many different ways.
It is really odd. It's really hard to explain and hard to categorize. And that's why it is a good Game Pass game. It's on Game Pass, so I think I really do encourage people to give it a shot. It is tough in the while you're trying to find a weapon, because you do get pushed out into this open world with nothing, and enemies travel in packs, so you kind of get fucked up but as soon as you start getting stuff and just get your first gun or weapon, it does get a little bit better. But
okay, it sounds a little bit more Stalker-like. It sounds a little bit more simmy in nature.
It is like it's more. I feel like there's more to it than a Fallout game in terms of the action and the choices and stuff. I should say a modern Fallout game. But there's less to it than Stalker, so that's why I say it kind of fits in between
like
those
a good
two
middle
games
ground.
in terms of complexity and stuff.
Yeah.
But
and how I guess being British myself and having spent a bit of time in the north of England too, how well realized do you think that is? Does it feel very British?
I mean,
or don't feel equipped to answer that.
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go there, so it's that based on what I've played. So is that
you're
the
never
same
taking a holiday to the Lake District with me then?
No, I don't think so. But yeah, I think so, and it's obviously Rebellion is a team based in the UK, so I think that I trust that it is true to whatever that area is. But yeah, I can't really comment on that.
Is there a British humor or sensibility to the characters at all?
It's not funny. I wouldn't say it's funny like how Fallout is a little bit tongue in.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think they were more inspired by Doctor Who and the kind of British sci-fi kind of side of things, rather than say, I don't know, Monty Python or something. It's not funny say, I don't know, Fable or even Fallout to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
I think that the one thing I take away from this game, having played it, is I feel like in a lot of games like, say, Skyrim and Fallout and stuff, you kind of might start doing something and then you go to talk to, let's just say you find a note about somebody, and you go to confront them about it, but the game's quest line doesn't really register you've read that note. Do you know how a lot of games do that? And you can't really confront them then? This game's really good at predicting what you want to do and letting you do it and letting it play out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, cool.
And that's something else
coming up in dialogue. Is it dialogue options, the game? Is it that
there are, yeah. So there's full dialogue options. There's quest logs in terms of you pick up a lot of every note you pick up might have something in there that you can go and investigate, and it will be there. So someone, you might pick up a note about a treasure chest and it might say, we left our shit here, and then you go there and usually it will be there, or there'll be another note sending you somewhere else. There's no quest markers per se or a quest log, just open-ended leads. and organically, like you do say end up, if you just start following the one lead you get at the beginning, you naturally end up having like 5 to 6 different leads, like by the time you finish one of them. It feels like very organic the way the quests are given to you and the exploration and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really do recommend it. I think it's very different. I think these are the kinds of games that probably need a little bit more attention, just because they're doing something, even though it's greater than the sum of its parts, right? Like it's stuff we've all seen before, like on a micro level, but on a macro level, like it doesn't really feel like anything else. That's
and
why
if
I
I'm
said,
not mistaken, it's going to be on Game Pass as well, right?
Yes, yeah, I did on Xbox and PC, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think both. Yeah. So definitely worth your time. It's kind of nuts to think this came from the same team who did Sniper Elite and Zombie Army Trilogy. Like, it is a huge step up for them. And I think they nailed it, honestly. Like, yeah.
Can you give it a go? Brody, I know you initially, your ears perked up with the Bioshock mention. Did James lose you, or are you still interested in giving us a blast?
No, I'm still interested. Like, I guess my main concerns might be around the combat. Like, I zoned out, so I didn't really speak about combat too much. So,
I didn't speak about combat
because obviously
much.
Fallout, I always felt falls into that like real janky sort of area where like they literally have things like VATs, so you don't actually have to engage with enemies because it is that jank. Like, how does the combat feel in this?
Just before you answer, I also found like the kind of hit detection of like Stalker really quite frustrating. And I don't know if that was like, it was just deliberately quite dark in some places, so I just felt like I was firing blindly in the darkness. But I think those simmy natures kind of held back my enjoyment of the game a little bit.
Like, I'm hoping this would hit like more arcade areas like Sniper Elite to be a bit more.
It is a shooter. Like, you line up a headshot, and you can line up the headshot if you're good enough, and it's a headshot, right? Like, it just works. It's not like 500 damage, and then you don't kill them. Do you know what I mean? Like, it is a shooter, and that's like what I say is its biggest strength and weakness in different ways, is the fact that it isn't an RPG. So yeah, like, it's not janky. The hit detection's perfect. This, like I said before, this is from the Sniper Elite guys. Like, they kind of know what they're doing in terms of aiming a gun and shooting. So yeah, it's not simmy by any means. Like, it feels like I would probably equate it to like a Far Cry or something in terms of, you know, aiming and firing, and yeah, like it feels good. I guess the only caveat there is your bullets are limited. It's not like Far Cry in that way. Like, you do have to really, if you see a group of people, you really have to weigh up if you're going to shoot at them or just like kind of sneak past them. Especially because there is an area underground that you probably will need a lot more ammo for. So if you're heading there, it's all these kinds of things you have to think about all the time. And that's the survival aspect of it. It's not like survival in a sense that you have to worry about, like, I don't know, blood, like hunger and all that kind of shit. It's survival in the sense that what it used to be, right? But to answer your question, Brody, like, it is... You have melee weapons, you can throw them. Like, some weapons do better at throwing than others, especially bladed weapons. Or you have guns. Like, it's a very straightforward. There's no powers, like, or anything like that. Yeah.
And how approachable is the open world? Because I'm still playing a bit of Assassin's Creed Shadows at the moment, and just like the bigger that world gets, the more daunted by it I'm getting, admittedly. Is this a bit more reined in, or?
Yeah, it is. It's small.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it takes me less than I reckon less than 5 minutes to walk from one area to the other, and that's and there's 4 areas. Nice. So it feels like I don't know 100%, but it does feel like the same size as Rapture when Bioshock gives you that opportunity to go in different directions. Yeah. Have you played a Sniper Elite? It's probably about as big as. Okay. I was going to say the levels in this feel like the same size. It's just a connected world. So, yeah,
cool.
Definitely
that
give it a
like
shot.
A tick in my book as well.
Yeah.
Shannon, what about yourself? You gonna play some Atomfall? Doing anything?
I don't know if it's Shannon's game.
Yeah, like Fallout and Bioshock are games that I love, but I have a feeling that
well, it doesn't point you in a distinct direction, tell you exactly what to do. So I think you would.
I'm not going to lie. I've been struggling with that with Assassin's Creed too. I know we joked about it last week.
You can turn it off.
Yeah. But then I saw that. But then it's like you might not get some trophies, and I just
it's one. No, it's one trophy. It's only one trophy. You don't have to worry.
Okay.
Anyway.
I just spent like so long trying to find someone that was going to sell me like the particular attire I needed. I'm like, where is this damn merchant?
I'll try it. Is it a game that like you do just get straight into, or is it like a 5
Yeah,
hour?
it is. Like somebody has a chat with you. They give you, you can either kill them or help
That's too
them.
much.
No, they haven't. They haven't. You're being a dickhead. Just listen. See, I'm even trying to talk to you, and you can't even listen. It's literally, it's like less than 3 minutes or something.
This
and you're out.
conversation's been going for 25 minutes. He's clearly not listening. If he,
Yeah. No, you're out. You're out in the open world in less than 5 minutes, and you can go and do whatever you want.
All right, I'll time it.
Just chuck it on one of your 10 portable PCs and give it a shot. Like,
I've got a PS5 code, so I will.
oh,
get into
okay,
it
very
and give it a
dynamic.
Very good. All right, well, let's discuss another game that I know Shannon will take a great interest in, and that is the rumors circulating about another God of War potentially around the corner. This comes according to Industry Insider and Giant Bomb podcast host Jeff Grubb, who divulged the PlayStation plans include a new God of War title set in Greece, contrary to the kind of persistent ongoing rumors of a remastered collection of the original trilogy kicking about as well. So this would be something new, according to Jeff Grubb. Brody, first to you, what sort of interest do you think you'd have in returning to a Greek setting for God of War?
Yeah. I think a Greek setting done well, like in the style of 2018 and Ragnarok, I think would probably hit like crack. So like I'd be there for that. If they were to revert back to, say, the old style of gameplay, I definitely probably wouldn't be about that. But if it's this shorter, more truncated experience that sort of sees them back there for some reason, kind of like a Lost Legacy sort of thing, then yeah, I mean, I could be swayed.
I'm a little disappointed it's not the rumors in ancient Egypt, because I know that circulated like once upon a time, and there's been like little kind of Easter eggs. And
Maybe that's where
I think
they're going for the
Ragnarok
next
had a fair
main
few
line.
of them. Yeah, maybe that's kind of a bit more down the line.
To draw
India
another
and
Bioshock
Egypt
parallel.
were rumored for like a long time.
Yeah, India too. I'd forgotten about that.
I think for those that I feel like the context of Valhalla is important in this for because I don't think James or Brody played it, but like there were flashbacks to Greece in that, and like a lot of the monsters from the Greek games were in Valhalla. So I feel like they have been building to this, and there would be a lot of like God of War players that haven't played the originals and wouldn't have any idea like how that all started, and they were like really cool games in terms of like settings and characters and enemies. So yeah, I don't really want them to go down that path fully again. That's why I kind of was excited for the remastered, whatever that was. But I think if they're doing like a 5 or 10 hour story, that's a cool way to sort of go back to that world without like giving a trilogy to it or like 10 years of development. So I'm really keen. I think that, yeah, that world that I guess Kratos originated in like deserves to be explored again in this new setting. As much as I did like the older games as well.
Yeah, without kind of divulging too much about Ragnarok and Valhalla, I think it would be interesting if Kratos went back and kind of present day sort of like settled some unfinished business, or I did wonder if even like Atreus like kind of goes there to like kind of connect more with his lineage in some way. I'm curious about like the narrative potential of like returning to Greece. I don't know like how much it necessarily pushes the story forward versus like expanding some character, but as in like other characters like side story
just
wise?
like in I can't even really remember where we left Greece, but like obviously Kratos was done with it. Like are we expecting that there would be like a Greece left for him to return to? Is that a stupid question? I don't think it is.
I'm less familiar about that part of the God
James,
of
you're
War story.
Greek.
What? What's that got to do with anything? What is he going to today's Greece? Because there's nothing there.
Well,
like,
that's with you and that's exactly.
Like,
he's just gonna go
I
to
don't-
Silver
What?
for a swim.
He just wants a cheap kebab or something. Just like skips back.
Yeah. No, interesting. I think particularly because the who was working on the live service game
James,
again.
you're
What's
Greek.
the studio called?
Am I still coming through? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Was it Blue Point that was working on one
Blue
before
Point.
Yeah.
So obviously that's gone. So to hear that there is something else in the near future this year.
Yeah, I mean, this year would be nuts for sure.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed Valhalla. Like, I thought that was like a really great addition. Like, I would welcome something that sort of scale again. I kind of get the sense that this might be a little bit bigger than that, but obviously not the scale of a kind of full-fledged release. But yeah, I'm excited kind of no matter what this is. I think the kind of universe they've created or like expanded upon with God of War is really cool. And given that it's the series' or the franchise's 20th anniversary, right? It makes sense to put something out this year. Keen to see what it turns out to be. I have a rapid fire question for each of you before we close out today's show. Launching overnight earlier in the week, to everyone's surprise on Steam, Look Outside is a brand new survival horror indie game from both Devolver Digital and Francis Colombe. Is that how you pronounce his surname?
I'm looking your way, Brody. Colombe? I don't know.
Colombe?
Frankie.
Yeah.
He goes by Frankie.
Frankie. The game, which began as a game jam title, is set entirely within an apartment building where any resident who peeks out their window is transformed into something truly terrible. Now, I've got this down as a rapid fire question, but do expand on it if you have played it. Otherwise, Brody, do you intend to give this one a go? It sounds up your street.
I have done. I've probably played about 30 or 40 minutes of it so far. It's really cool. Like, you can see, obviously, it's how it started as a game jam and stuff like that. It's a simple idea, like it's all set within one apartment building, very turn-based RPG in that traditional sense, but very cool body horror and sort of survival horror aspects as well. Obviously, the pixel art is really cool. Like this guy did the pixel art for Katana Zero, so cool. He's obviously very good at what he does. But I didn't know he had that dog in him to develop his own little game. So. Yeah. I like what I've played so far. Like, I've died a couple of times. Like, there's shitloads of ways you can die in this game, apparently, and they're all gruesome as shit. Like, it's very cool like that. So, I look forward to going through and, getting fucked up in many numbers of ways.
Sounds a bit like Tomb Raider-esque in the way that you go out and all the different cutscenes. James, you going to give it a blast?
Not yet. I didn't realize it was only on PC, but it's on my radar. So many good horror games around now that aren't just like shitty Amnesia clones. So it's
true,
exciting because
it's true.
Like we're in a real indie rut for a bit there for horror games, but this looks good.
I feel like there's just too many good games coming out at the moment. I'm like at my wit's end trying to make time for them all, but this one does sound interesting. Shannon, what about yourself? Are you much of a horror game guy at all?
Yeah, I don't.
He doesn't support indies, though.
I mean,
debatable.
No, I wasn't planning on it, so I'm just going to say no.
Well, a game we no doubt are all very excited to play is the Press Start podcast game show, What the Wiki, where the previous week's winner is part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game, and we, the contestants, must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess, with the round concluding after someone has bagged themselves 2 points. Last week, that was our reigning champion, James, who is back comfortably in first place on 9 points. I say comfortably. Brody, you're only 1 point behind on 8, so anything could happen. I myself am on 6 points in third place, and Shannon, you're bringing up the rear at this stage on 4 points. I'm sure James has been super lenient in picking today's games, though, and has you in mind to get you caught back up. Isn't that right, James?
What are you suggesting?
Always does, doesn't he?
Ape Escape.
The first step is listening. 1, 2, 3. That's all I'm gonna say. Like,
speak.
Because what are you even doing now? What are you looking at now? Look at the screen. Look at engage with the.
I'm watching your lips go.
Have you've seen how much stuff he has on his desk? There's too much like distractions. Just
if you're not going to respect us, respect the audience. Look down the barrel.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay.
I'm good at everything else. It's better that I'm not the winner at this.
I always
That's
say
true.
That. I'm like, I have to be bad. I have to be bad at something. So. Development. I'm doing this live, by the way, so it's slow. That's why.
Ooh,
development for this game began for the Nintendo 64 in 1998. The partner system was created to take advantage of the short load times possible because of the Nintendo 64 game pack. The cartridge format also provided limitations, however, as the storage capacity was less than that of a CD.
Ewan.
Yes, wow.
I'm just taking
very confident.
A real punt here. Is it GoldenEye?
No, it's not.
Okay.
In 1998, GoldenEye had been and gone. But
Had it?
sure.
When
Yeah.
did that come out?
Had you been
94?
born? Yeah.
I was 2. We're talking about
okay.
games that are coming out when I was 2 here.
That's cool. I think you still might get this. You never know.
Okay.
The team had to approach the design differently from previous games in the series to conserve storage space. The game was designed to be more difficult than the previous games, and the team removed item boxes and introduced an item dropping feature instead. Production was switched to the recently unveiled GameCube after development slowed due to memory storage issues. Only the concept and story remained. Yes, Brody.
No, I take it back.
Confused.
The game received generally positive reviews, with a lot of people praising the graphics and the audio. Opinions on the new partner and item systems were mixed. Some found the changes were an improvement, others believed the changes were cumbersome. Yes, Shannon.
Mario Kart Double Dash.
Oh, shit.
No.
No, that was my guess.
Did you say it
The
was a Nintendo game? Sorry, or did you not say
Yes,
anything?
began on 64, moved to GameCube.
Yeah.
The game was also ported to the Wii in 2008 and later for current generation consoles on January 2016. That's out of date, but yes. Okay. The game is a third-person survival horror video game. However, unlike other games controlling one character, the player controls 2 characters throughout the entire game. The player may switch between police officer and medic.
Shannon.
Yes, Shannon.
Resident Evil 2.
No, it's not Resident Evil 2. If both characters travel together, either of them can be controlled, while the other is handled by the game's artificial intelligence. The player may also control both simultaneously or split them up to explore areas separately. Why am I talking like this?
Suddenly adopted a Kiwi accent.
Yeah. Each character has unique abilities. One of them has a mixing kit, which allows them to combine herbs, but they are weak defensively. In contrast, the other can move...
No,
yes, Ewan.
Is this Resident Evil? I've got my ears all wrong for Resident Evil games. 3.
No. You played Resident Evil 3.
Yeah, and it didn't sound anything like this.
Is it Resident Evil 0?
It is Resident Evil 0. Congratulations, Brody. Well done.
I'm battling some lag, so bear with me.
It's getting revealed next week at the Switch event. That's my
weird chronological order.
What's wrong, Shannon?
Just go. Next game.
Go on. What's wrong?
I was definitely thinking like there's item drops and you're playing with someone. This is like a Mario Kart game, and then the survival horror thing just like totally threw me off.
It live.
I wasn't sure. I can't change the game.
Kept tabbing out to different games.
My attention span is ending.
Okay,
wow.
Well, that's why you're losing. The game is played from a third-person perspective. Players control a customizable protagonist, and the gameplay is focused on strategic weapon-based combat and exploration. Players battle varied enemies while using items such as weapons and firearms, exploring different locations, interacting with NPCs, and unraveling the city's mysteries.
Ewan.
Yes, Ewan.
Is this Fallout New Vegas?
No. The game began development in 2012 under the working title of Project Beast, bearing many similarities to From Software's Dark Souls games. Shannon, you got me. The game has been cited as amongst the greatest video games ever made, with praise directed at its gameplay atmosphere, sound design, themes, and interconnected world. Yes, Shannon.
Bloodborne.
It is Bloodborne. Congratulations, Shannon. Do you know it turns 10? It turns 10 today.
Wow. Nothing is going to happen still.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
I feel like this one's obvious. We'll see.
Hopefully to me.
No, it's not. Sorry, Ewan. I think it's
Damn
over.
it.
But
this game was released in 1990.
No, it's not that old. Okay. Okay. Apart from a few new features, this game is nearly identical to its predecessor. The player acts as a gardener whose land is visited by various creatures. Yes, Brody.
Is it Viva Pinata 2? Trouble in Paradise.
It is Viva Pinata 2, Trouble in Paradise. I'm sorry.
So Brody.
Was there a connection between all of these games of any kind?
I started
No, okay.
No, yeah, obviously not. Yeah. How is that Brody code? Resident Evil 0,
That
Bloodborne,
one. Brody
and Viva
loves
Pinata.
Viva
Viva Pinata
Pinata.
is a bit Brody coded, I'll admit.
Oh, okay. I thought
You two
Give it
probably
up,
had a
Mitch.
war for like who got all the achievements fastest.
Viva Pinata was a
time in that
global
game.
hit.
James
It
will
had
always
an animated series.
Yeah,
trump me at
it's over.
achievements.
Well,
Well, good job, Brody, and good job, James. Did a marvelous job hosting.
I agree.
feel like
Thank
I came
you.
away with no points. Very disappointing. But anyhow,
Thank you,
with that, let's bring
Ewan.
an end to what was this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at Press.au and visit the site at follow us at Press.au and visit the site at pressstart.com.au. I've read this that many times and I thought I'd be able to
It's
do
Ewan's
it from
first
memory
week.
nowadays. It's my first week. I'm tired, more tired today than I thought I was. We've been joined today by Brody.
Yes, hello. Thank you for listening. You can follow me on most things at Brody_DG.
We're all struggling today. What were you going to say about me there, James? Huh? What were you going to... You were about to come at me for a second there.
I thought
He's
I
gonna
was
call
going
you
to say
cute.
you've hosted, and I was going to say, and you're pointless because you didn't get any points.
Yes. Yeah, it's true.
Pointless.
It's true. Well, look, another opportunity next week to catch back up.
Yeah.
Also joining us today, it was Shannon.
It was Shannon. You can follow me at Shannon Crixty on everything.
What's
Big
it?
Shannon Day.
And I've been your host, Ewan. You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxborough. We'll be back next week, but until then, happy gaming.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.